Michael decided the best option was the right path, as he was quite interested to better understand what had happened to him, and if his dreams were true, he felt he could come to terms with that. He returned to the vision, and when asked, he answered with, "the right path." He began to relax his mind even more and passed out. After an unknown amount of time, he started to hear voices as he realized he was returning to consciousness. The voices were expressing concern, and he heard someone say, "Call an ambulance!" Michael stirred and opened his eyes, realizing that he was lying on the floor. He immediately noticed that everything somehow seemed more in focus, and the colors were even more defined than before. "He seems to be coming round," said a smartly dressed woman who was leaning over. He tried to sit up, asking what had happened as he looked at the people in the room. He noticed 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men he recognized as the other detective he had met the other day. He wondered if this detective knew that his partner was dead. The detective moved toward him as the woman stood up and backed away slightly. Before he could speak, Michael informed him that he had known he wasn't supposed to have come back to the store, but he felt he had to. He further explained that he was looking around and couldn't see anything that would be useful as evidence, and went to check the back room. He then claimed to not remember anything else until seeing the 3 of them. What he didn't tell them was that he felt drained and now knew that he needed energy. The woman asked him if he felt okay or if they should still call the ambulance. She felt he should go to the hospital, but Michael convinced her that he felt fine, although confused as to how he ended up on the floor unconscious. The lady was insistent that he was taken to a doctor at least if he didn't want to go to the hospital, and Michael realized he would have to concede to this. She asked Jeremy to take him, and they would conduct a forensic investigation as he wasn't technically required to be there. He could return after seeing to Michael. Michael stood up with the help of Jeremy, who was the other detective he had met before. They walked out of the store, and Michael noticed a locksmith van parked outside with someone sitting in the van waiting. Parked behind the van were 2 other cars, both medium-sized sedans. One burgundy in color, and the one they were approaching was silver. After a short silent trip, they arrived at the nearby doctor, exited the vehicle and went into the building. After the detective presented his badge to the receptionist, Michael was shown to a room rather quickly. The detective waited outside and Michael waited inside for the doctor. Before the doctor entered the room, he could hear a brief discussion between the detective and the doctor. The doctor then entered and introduced himself as Dr. Howlett. He asked Michael a few questions to aid in diagnosing the cause of him being unconscious. After a brief check that there were no bumps on the head, he stated he would need to take his blood pressure and also a blood test. Michael rolled up his sleeve and his blood pressure was normal. The doctor then found his vein and dabbed it with a clear liquid and began to stick the needle into his skin. Michael felt the pressure of the needle, but not the prick of the needle he was anticipating. The doctor looked up at him, slightly confused, and explained that for some reason the needle wasn't penetrating his skin. He tried another needle and it had the same result. The doctor wasn't quite sure what to do about this, and Michael didn't entirely understand why the doctor was struggling. Realizing that this was one of his new gifts, Michael was faced with 3 choices. Option 1, he explains his situation to the doctor. Option 2, he tries to make up some excuse. Or option 3, he replenishes his energy level by draining the doctor. Vote now.